One. Welcome everyone and to the Velero community and open discussion meeting. Happy to have you all here. We have an agenda today. We've got a few things that we want to go over. It's most likely going to be a light one, so if you have any questions, please let us know in the chat and or just unmute yourself and speak. So let me share my screen so I'll show you all the agenda. All right, so the agenda for today, I'm going to give you some status updates, then we have some discussion topics. If you have any questions that you want to add in, you can either do that in the chat or here in the HackMD, which is linked from the community page up on velero.io. So first off, let's go through some status updates. Carlicia.
Yes, so last week, we merged this PR to extract the AWS plugin from the Velero core code base. So now we have a repo for that, and I'm going to do next is do the same thing for the Google Cloud Platform and Microsoft Azure, and after that, we need to test those plugins against the Velero code base with that codes, which is actually the PR that I just pasted there. And after everything is confirmed to be running fine, we can merge that PR. And then the Velero code base is not going to have those plugins or any documentation related to it, because all the documentation is going to live in their respective repositories. I think that's it.
Sounds good. Do you have any blockers there?
No.
Good to hear. All right, Steve.
Yeah, not a lot of an update since last week. I've been continuing to play with the prototype, the Rustic-based volume snapshotter. Just adding a little bit more functionality. Hello. And kind of.
Hey.
Oh, Carlicia, you need to mute. Oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, just figuring out a few of the details related to the Rustic volume snapshotter, and I started documenting it. I'd like to get a document out that folks can do some more review on. Still need to do some refinements on that before it's ready to publish, but hopefully soon. And then I've also spent some time just taking a look at our general documentation again, and I put up a design proposal for kind of a revised table of contents for our documentation, and I've also been looking at making some refinements to the install documentation to hopefully make the flow a little bit easier to follow for users. So that's basically it, and I'm just continuing to review open PRs and push towards the first beta release for 1.2.
Awesome. Any questions there? All right, Adnan.
Hey, I've been working on switching to Docker Hub. So we're moving the images that we're publishing from GCR to Docker Hub. And I almost have a PR ready for that. I was just testing this in my own fork yesterday, but should be able to push that today. That's all I have, I think.
Cool, and that's all images?
Yeah, so this will be the Velero image, the FS Freeze, and the Velero Rustic helper image, and then also all the plugin images for each individual cloud provider plugin.
Awesome, awesome. So that's going smooth. That's really good to hear.
Yeah, we should definitely be able to have that for the 1.2 release.
Cool.
Cool.
Any questions, comments on that? All right, Amanda.
Good morning. I wanted to quickly go over some stuff that we're going to do at KubeCon San Diego to make sure that the whole team knew here. So we have solidified the VMware booth at this point. And inside the booth, we are going to have a education type mini lab area where we are working on having mini type labs for the open source projects that we're highlighting within the booth. One of those projects is Velero. And so it looks like we're going to be doing this on Strigo, which is what a platform that some folks use internally right now for some training items. Bosky and Cody are going to be helping do this, and we'll have more updates next week for everybody. But I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that this was going on. We're definitely committed to getting more hands-on keyboards right now. So I want to make sure that the community knew that we were able to go ahead and we'll have Velero highlighted for us all. That's it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so for any community members that are on the call, if you want to, if you are at KubeCon San Diego in November, and you want to do a deep dive and try out some things, please come to the booth. All right, any questions there? Okay, moving on to discussion topics. Steve.
Yeah, so this is mostly related to the plugin repos that we're extracting in the example plugin repo. So right now with our makefile and our Docker file, we're essentially, we have kind of our own builder Docker image that we're using, or builder stage within the build process, I would say. So we're building the plugin binary within one image, and then we have our actual Docker file is taking that binary that was built in the builder image and copying it into an actual container image that we're then going to be publishing to Docker Hub. So anyway, the advantage of the setup we have right now is that we can use the Go build cache. So we actually create directories on the local machines, like the developer's laptop, to store the Go build cache information, and then those get bind mounted into the builder container so that they can be used there and updated. And I was looking at changing the process for the Docker image build for these plugins to take advantage of multi-stage builds, which I think simplifies the makefile and the Docker file a lot. But one downside to that is that it gets more difficult to actually use the Go build cache in a way that that is useful within the builder image. So I was kind of looking for input from Carlisia and Adnan and anyone else on, if you had any thoughts on, like, would it be better to move to a multi-stage build, which I think would simplify the Docker file and the makefile a lot, or is there a lot of benefit to using the Go build cache? I guess my opinion is that, for the plugin images, I don't like, the builds are relatively small. You will definitely get some speed up if you're using the cache, but I don't think it's all that significant. I can certainly do some benchmarking and see like what the build times look like, but I don't think they're anything that's going to be a significant drag to productivity for anyone working on these things. So just curious if anyone had any thoughts there.
Do you know how much? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to ask, do you know how much, I think you were talking about the plugin images there. Do you know how much the build cache makes the Velero image faster to build?
For the main Velero image?
Yeah.
I'm not sure off the top of my head. It's been a while since we added support for it, and I don't really remember what kind of improvements we saw there.
Okay. Yeah, you might want to just do a quick benchmark of that and see if it is gonna slow it down significantly, then it's probably not worth investing in. But if it's, I mean, most of these builds happen in CI anyway, so I think it's okay to be a little bit slower. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the CI context, like the Go build cache isn't actually helping us, because as far as I know, the cache directories are not being kept around anywhere; they're being thrown away after each build. So.
Oh right, yeah, that's a good point.
So it's useful for like on the local developer machine if you're building a thing, building these over and over again. But I think for CI, you're basically building from scratch every time anyway.
Yeah, most of the time I haven't needed to do the whole build an image. I've mostly just been able to build a local binary and just run that. So
Yeah.
when working with Restic, you need to build an image, but other than that, I'm mostly just building the binary.
Yeah, and I guess that's the other thing is if you're a developer working on these plugins, if you're just building and testing that the binary builds and passes tests, like you can just run go build or go test locally. You don't really need to build a full image. And if you're doing that, then you'll get native build cache support anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking if we are considering using Go Build Cache or not, and we don't really have a speed problem that we need to solve, then focusing on doing the multi-stage builds and having those Docker files and make files give a better indication of what to use when and better organized. I would go with that option.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we can do a fair amount of simplification there. Like there are some things in the make file that are really just not necessary given how our repositories are structured now, and the Docker file stuff can simplify a lot as well. So I'll probably work in the next couple of days on just throwing up a draft PR for that. So folks can take a look concretely at what it might look like.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think we have a legacy build make file, and now it's not really clear that we need everything that's there.
Yeah, I think the one that's in the plugin example repo was definitely put together fairly quickly, kind of copy and pasted from other places, and has never really been like looked at and optimized and simplified. So I think it's definitely a good time now to look at doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. That's all I wanted to cover there.
Cool. So I got two small items here. We talked about rearranging the documentation, rewriting a bunch of stuff now, especially with the plugins and how to pull things out. I just wanted to show you one thing that the Contour team has done, and that might be interesting to do here as well. So they have essentially pulled out a bunch of documentation that they had for specific use cases and put them under a guides URL. So we got a few different things here, a few different guides. And I was just wondering if this is something that you would like to look into when we're doing the reorg of the docs anyway. We could also have something like this. So we could have the documentation and maybe a guides link up here if you wanted to. Entirely up to you, and entirely up to discussion as well, or up for discussion rather.
I definitely like the idea of like kind of separating out the information. So having like reference information and more things like guides separated. I guess the one question I'm wondering about is, for Contour, I'm curious why it's like its own top level menu item in the website versus a section in the documentation, if there was a specific reason for that.
They wanted it to be very clear that they have guides on how to do different things, essentially. So making it very clear for the users that they can look at guides immediately and see use cases on how to do different things, instead of having to go to the documentation and then looking for the guides there. So essentially just skipping one step.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I might think about like keeping it in the documentation, but you could still have the guides link at the top of the website that just redirects into the relevant documentation section. But I definitely like the idea of having a section like this, which is kind of its own dedicated set of information.
Yeah, and I think it could be fed through some of the blog posts that we have as well, especially the one from Cormac where he goes through different use cases. Those could then be turned into guides, and the guides could be updated while the blog post still lives on as they are, but we can always update the guides easily.
Yeah, and I mean, in our existing documentation, we have a couple of like really small examples of what I would consider guides. We have things around like DR and cluster migration, but I would say they're pretty weak. They could use some significant updating, and there are like many more scenarios that we would actually want to cover in that section. So we just need to do some more writing.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the idea too, but I also agree with Steve. I think it should be part of the documentation, but okay with a top-level page that links to the right place in the documentation. But I think it'd be nice to see it in the sidebar of the documentation as well, so you can easily find it there.
So I also really like this, and to me, it's sort of like day one, day two type of thing. For example, you've been running Velero and you think, oh, what else can I do with Velero? And then you go through the guides list, and everything is listed there conveniently. And I think this is what Jonathan is saying. We can even post to link to blog posts right there, and just keep adding to it, and just having one page where everything can be listed. We don't feel restrained. Now, I agree with Stephen Adnan that it would be ideal to have the guides also listed in documentation. The one issue that I see is that we are limited with the format of our docs. For example, some docs they have like a top level and you click to expand, but then you click to contract too. Because if we have 20 documents for guides, if we list 20 things here, this left navigation starts looking weird, right? So what tends to happen is that it will get to a point where we will want to refrain from adding things. And that's what I would like for us not to be in that position. I would like for us to have proper places for things that we feel, oh, let's add one more, is not a big deal. We're not going to worry, oh, but if we add one more or 5 more, then the navigation is going to start sucking. So yes, it'll be good, but I don't know how to reconcile the fact that if we add a bunch of things there, this navigation is going to look horrible.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I can definitely do mock-ups of both, and then we can look at that during the next meeting, or I can just share some screenshots in the Kubernetes Velero channel as well to see what people think. Sounds good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, cool. I'll work on that.
Or maybe we will just add one link, for example, under one of these top menus with guide, and point to that guide page instead of having one section for guides. That's an option, I guess.
Yeah, I think that could make sense. Could it also be a big header as well that says guide, and then you can click on that? Is that an option?
I can do many things with the website. So yeah, absolutely. I can mock up a few different versions, and then we can iterate on that.
Sounds great.
Okay, cool. And I think the guides here, and this goes out to everyone on the call here, both the Velero team and all the community members. It would be awesome to have some contributions for guides as well. If you have something that you are doing in your daily routine as a Velero user, it would be awesome to know that. And yeah, if you want to contribute to the guides and the docs here, please let us know. And yeah, we would love to include that. All right. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is, and I mentioned this last week as well, implementing a /blog on the website for a cleaner look for the links. Right now it's a little weird because we do have /blog, which goes to here, but then when you click on these, they actually don't have /blog in the URL. It just goes to velero.io/title. So this is a simple fix. It's just a simple redirect, essentially. The small issue we have right now is that we already have published articles. But all I need to do is insert a static URL redirect for the existing articles. And that's per article, and that would be a quick fix. And that would mean that every time you go to /blog, you will see all the blogs, and then all the articles will be under /blog as well. It would just be a cleaner look, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay. I'll get on that then.
Great.
Do we have any questions from the community members on the call here? All right. Then I think we can go into contributor shoutouts.
Yeah, I'll cover this. Just had one that I found looking through the log, but so Andy Zhang, who works at Microsoft, contributed a PR for adding support for the China and German clouds for our Azure plugins. I may have mentioned this last week. I think it was in progress at that point, but we got that PR merged. So I know we've had a long-standing request to add support for the German cloud, and this also now supports the China cloud as well. So hopefully this is useful for some Azure users out there, and this will be included in the 1.2 release that we're targeting for around the end of this month. So. Thanks a lot to Andy for contributing, and it's always great to have folks who have folks from the cloud providers helping out with the Velero plugins.
Awesome, and I think that's a great high note to end the call on. Thank you all very much for joining in today, and we hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.